Hi, Ed Friedland, the Bass Whisperer here, once again for Guitar World magazine. This month we're looking at the G&L JB Rustic Bass. Well, JB stands for jazz bass, which is what we've got going on here. And of course we know that Leo Fender invented the jazz bass in 1960. What you may or may not know is that Leo Fender also formed G&L Guitars. It was the last company that he had. So it's really not that much of a stretch for G&L to come out with a jazz bass style instrument. In fact, it's all in the family. G&L first came out with the JB2 model in the year 2000. It's similar, but not exactly the same as a jazz bass. It does have the same single coil pickups, slightly different body shape, no pick guard, and the styling is not as dead-on jazz bass as this one is. The JB was introduced in 2009, so the fact that they've got this rustic model that looks like it's so good 25, 30 years old, well, they're playing with history a little bit, but who cares? It's a great instrument and it looks awesome. The JB Rustic has a two-piece ash body with a nitrocellulose lacquer finish. Now, people like those nitro finishes because they're thinner and they let the wood vibrate and breathe a little bit more. Plus, they tend to wear quicker, so if you want your instrument to develop some mojo, that'll happen quicker with a nitro finish. The G&L saddle lock bridge is a massive piece of metal. It's got chrome-plated brass saddles, and the locking mechanism tightens the saddles together, so what you get is a very unified hunk of metal. It's very beefy, and it definitely contributes to great sustain and clarity. The nut width on the JB is 1.5 inches, which is fairly standard for a jazz bass. The fingerboard radius is 12 inches, which is a little bit flatter than a lot of other jazz basses out there. In G&L terms, this is known as the number 8 neck. Although it may look old and beat up, the JB Rustic is one of G&L's more premium models, and features like a quarter-sawn hard rock maple neck definitely add to the value and performance of the instrument. The neck profile is very rounded around back. It's a little bit chunkier than some jazz basses I've played. It's got a really nice feel, particularly when you give it that old rock and roll baseball bat grip. Feels real nice in the hand. The JB Rustic sports two G&L vintage Alnico single coil pickups in the 60s jazz bass position. It also has a classic volume tone control arrangement. The G&L Rustic series are pre-mojoed at the factory, and they've done a very nice job with that. The finish checking is subtle and very realistic. The wear spots are exactly where you think they would be, but they're not overdone. And the neck and the headstock get a vintage tint to the lacquer, makes it look very aged. The metal parts have all been oxidized, so they look like they've been hanging out there for quite a few years. It's a very tasteful and very realistic presentation. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this look at the G&L JB Rustic. Some of you may be saying, hey, it's just a jazz bass, what's the big deal? But in fact, it's a very good jazz bass. They're using top-notch materials, excellent construction. When you play this thing acoustically, you can really feel the vibration of the wood against your body, and that translates into excellent tone. The neck feels great, it looks great, sounds exactly how you want it to sound. It's a classic. Check them out.